Hi everyone, Rob here. This is a short, reflective episode, and in many ways it also doubles as a recommended reading list. It's a reflection on a handful of books that have genuinely shaped how I think about building a business and how those ideas show up again and again in the real-world experiences shared by our guests on this podcast. As we come to the end of the year, it felt a good moment to step back and look at the ideas that endure. Over many years, a small group of books has had a meaningful influence on the way we've built our own firm. They've shaped how I think about people, execution, culture, and long-term success. What has been especially interesting as we've recorded this podcast is how often those same ideas surface very clearly in the experiences and insights shared by our guests. So this episode is really about those enduring lessons I've taken from reading and how strongly they are reinforced through the real-world stories of advice businesses we've had the privilege to feature so far. One of the clearest influences on my thinking has been Good to Great by Jim Collins, particularly the idea of the flywheel. The concept that momentum builds gradually through consistent, aligned effort has guided many decisions in our business. That same flywheel effect comes through repeatedly in guest conversations, especially when advisors talk about compounding progress through small improvements in service, team capability, and client experience over time. The strongest advice businesses tend to be very clear about who they serve, what they do exceptionally well, and where they deliberately focus their energy. That clarity has been a common thread across episodes touching on growth, pricing, and acquisition strategy. Another book that has shaped my perspective is The Great Game of Business by Jack Stack. The idea that people perform best when they understand how the business actually works, including the numbers, the score, and how their role contributes, has stayed with me. We've heard that idea echoed by guests who openly share performance metrics with their teams, involve people in decision-making, and create cultures built on trust rather than hierarchy. That naturally connects with the ideal team player of Patrick Lencioni, which emphasises humility, hunger, and people smarts. Many of the most impressive businesses discussed on the podcast are led by people who place enormous value on character and team dynamics, and who have built strong leadership benches rather than relying on a single individual. Execution is another idea where the alignment between books and lived experience is particularly striking. Scaling Up by Vern Harnish, Traction by Gino Wickman, The Four Disciplines of Execution by Chris McChesney, Sean Covey, and Jim Hewling, and Measure What Matters by John Doerr all reinforce the importance of focus and follow-through. When listening back to our guest episodes, it's clear that progress comes from simplicity, rhythm, and accountability. The businesses making real headway are not necessarily the most complex, but they are the most consistent. There's also a strong connection between the books that have shaped my thinking around trust and communication and the way great advisors operate in practice. The Four Conversations by Blair Enns, Influenced by Robert Cialdini, and Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss all point to the importance of listening well, framing conversations carefully, and building trust over time. And finally, there is the human and cultural dimension. Atomic Habits by James Clear highlights the power of small, consistent behaviours. Big Potential by Sean Acor reminds us success is rarely achieved alone, but amplified through others. And Legacy by James Kerr captures the importance of standards, humility, and doing the basics well. These ideas resonate strongly with the cultures described by guests who have built businesses with low turnover, strong engagement, and a genuine sense of shared purpose. When you step back and look at these ideas together, across books and across the lived experience of advice businesses, a very consistent picture emerges. Sustainable success comes from clarity of purpose, disciplined execution, strong people, and a long-term mindset, especially a long-term mindset. As we head into 2026, we're taking a short break from the episodes. We're back in 2 weeks' time with a conversation I have already recorded, and I know you're going to enjoy it. So thank you to all and everyone that's been tuning in and listening in. If you've shared episodes with friends and colleagues, and if you've been part of the journey so far, I genuinely appreciate it. Wishing you a very happy new year. And my hope is that 2026 is your strongest year yet for your business, your clients, and the people you share the journey with. All the best.